Yeah, I think I like Clavicular. I think the reason's actually pretty simple. He's a breath of fresh air, and he's also funny.
Well, her mid face is way too long. Obviously, she's got the jowls coming in, horrible nasolabial folds, horrible total facial width to height ratio. Just really bad age indicators, but obviously at 30, that's not something really that's going to surprise me. Her upper maxilla is super recessed, horrible infraorbitals. That's why your under eyes are coming in like hell. Really recessed chin. All the facial convexities are wrong. Her radix is recessed.
He really speaks from the stomach.
How many dudes have f***ed you this week?
He doesn't worry about offending people
Yeah.
because it kind of sets the tone immediately. He's willing to have a real conversation. He says things that are very controversial and things that are very socially unpopular, but things that I think a lot of people quietly agree with and are too afraid to say publicly. And that genuineness is rare. And I think it's one of the main reasons he's become so popular.
Right, but I mean, like, at the end of the day, women are always looking for, like, the next best thing. They're extremely hypergamous in nature. And, maybe you're able to beat this, issue and find a good girl who's maybe not even on Instagram. We're talking about a societal issue.
I think it really just depends on the type of person you're talking to. Because
Y-
it
y-
really
you know,
depends on how they grew up, their priorities.
Right, but he's saying it's a societal, broadly speaking.
Yes,
bringing up a
this is
specific.
right. So I'm not sitting here suggesting that you can't find a girlfriend who's wonderful. Or you can't get married, and start a great family in 2025. I'm just saying it's become increasingly difficult. And from the last generations, dating has really took a turn for the worse. And I am speculating that it's going to continue to become more and more hypergamous.
Clav talks openly about how bad the dating market has become and why he thinks it's ended up this way. And what I find really fascinating is his solution, looksmaxing.
What's the point of it all? Like, what's the end goal of looksmaxing?
Well, once again, there's no end goal to looksmaxing.
What's
right?
the point? Like, what's the objective?
Well, the objective is to get better looking because that's going to allow for more opportunities, allow for better overall treatment. Just that subconscious bias in people that you're leveraging by, becoming better and better looking is really worth all the effort that you put in.
It's this whole underlying idea of the looksmaxing philosophy that makes him and the people that follow him so interesting, in my opinion. And what I want to understand better is the telos, or the purpose that these people are pursuing.
What is looksmaxing?
Looksmaxing is the furthest extent that you could take self-improvement, right? So we've seen a lot of different forms of that over the years, mostly with bodybuilding. I would say was the main one for a while for men, from about 2010 up until 2020. And then it sort of shifted into looksmaxing that kind of crept into the space from different niche, forums, especially those of PSL. And it's very obvious that, the face is more important than the physique. So people were doing this self-improvement and it wasn't really getting them the results that they needed. So that's why the further step needed to be taken to sort of go about improving upon your entire life.
Clav talks a lot about maximizing all metrics of life.
Because I'm trying to optimize every single metric of my life. I'm not only interested in fitness, right? I am trying to IQ max, I'm trying to money max, like all these different things. Obviously, for the normies watching this, I say max at the end of everything, maximize, just for that clarification. But yeah, so I'm just trying to do so much more than the average person that I kind of have to cheat my way and cheat the system a little bit to be able to manage all these different things.
He defines looksmaxing as the furthest extent of self-improvement. He wants to mog other people.
At this point, I just want to mog people. I want to have, a better halo effect and just better overall quality of life through my looks.
Well, look, sometimes a guy just wants to mog. I get it.
You know what I mean?
He wants the benefits of the halo effect and an overall higher quality of life.
What is the halo effect?
The halo effect is people receiving you better, your personality, your interests, your hobbies, based on your appearance, right? So, for example, if two people were into video games and one of them was good looking and one of them was not, the good looking guy might be Oh, that's really interesting. That's a unique hobby you have. Might be how someone would react, and they might call the unattractive person playing video games, even though it's the exact same thing, just a nerd, a loser.
He's also talked about there not being a final endpoint, only continuous self-improvement.
Yeah, there's a lot of like terminology out there. I just think of it as improving. I don't really have like an end goal in mind. Like I know that looks maxing is a pretty much never-ending process. Like there's really no looks max that you could achieve. So just seeing like how far you can go, what you can achieve is kind of my mentality.
Now, while I find this interesting, I also see some subtle contradictions in the things that Clavicular states to be his beliefs. For example, he talks about wanting a better quality of life, which implies some kind of end state.
I want to have, a better halo effect and just better overall quality of life.
But he also says that self-improvement has no endpoint.
That looks maxing is a pretty much never-ending process. Like there's really no looks max that you could achieve.
So what I'm trying to figure out is what he's really after. Clav's articulated a lot of different goals, but I don't think he's fully identified or consciously articulated his own telos, his underlying purpose. But I think I know how to figure it out. And so after thinking about it for a bit, I think I've identified Clavicular's true telos. He wants to engineer himself into a position of permanent structural advantage.
If I could have this cheat code, essentially, that's going to get me to my desired physique, get me my results quicker, why would I not do it? It's not like your typical person who ups on at that age where they're like, oh, I want to look like David Lade or Jeff Side. That's not my mentality. It was just an objective. Okay, here's a tool that I could utilize, and I'm going to do so.
He wants to position himself where the world's default response to him is favorable, where bias works in his favor rather than against him. In other words, he wants to adapt to the system so that it consistently rewards him just for existing.
Right, but what's going to actually get you further in life? What's going to get you opportunities in the workplace? What's going to get you, dates, with prettier women? It's going to be looks 100 times over, and there's really no denying that. With like a lot of the recent, self-report studies we've seen, like research from the dating apps that's been released. So I would say that looks is just the most important metric. And it's arguably one of the easier things that you could maximize.
And I actually think he has a real shot at this. The guy has discipline. He's willing to suffer in the short term. He thinks long term. He's learned advanced pharmacology. He performs ruthless cost-benefit analysis. He's now popular and influential with multiple long-form interviews on very large YouTube channels. It's hard to say if his success is more due to his physical attractiveness or his intelligence, or maybe it's a combination combined with his authenticity. But then again, it probably is all three of those things working together. But yeah, what really interests me most about him is his philosophy.
Looks maxing is the furthest extent that you could take self-improvement.
Which is actually what looks maxing was always meant to be, was like doing whatever it takes to ascend type of mentality. There were some points in my life where I really was like very, suboptimal in terms of my aesthetics, but I was like okay with that because I knew that there was things that I could do, and I knew that the measures would be extreme. But I was like, well, this is kind of what it takes, and I was always someone who's willing to do whatever it takes because I'm trying to optimize every single metric of my life. I'm not only interested in fitness, right? I am trying to IQ max, I'm trying to money max, like all these different things.
Well, once again, there's no end goal to looks maxing.
What's
right?
the point? Like, what's the objective?
Well, the objective is to get better looking because that's going to allow for more opportunities, allow for better overall treatment, just that subconscious bias in people that you're leveraging by, becoming better and better looking.
Right. Why do you value results over effort?
It's a good question. Because it's what people see, right? It's the first thing that someone is going to lay eyes on. They're not going to know how you got to your goal. They're just going to know whether you're there or not, right? So first impressions are all that matter. When you tell people that you're on steroids after they see your physique and it's already, conceived in their head that it's impressive, it's not really going to change their perception. That's what I've learned. So it's all about, the external appearance,
Do you value hard work at all?
No, absolutely not. I value efficient work. I value smart work. Hard work is a ridiculous concept.
I just think of it as improving. I don't really have like an end goal in mind. Like I know that looks maxing is a pretty much never ending process. Like there's really no looks max that you could achieve.
From Clav's own framing, he sees purpose as something like continuous self-optimization in order to maximize the quality of life and becoming a high level, if not the ultimate mogger.
At this point, I just want to mog people.
And I want to be clear, I actually respect this goal. I think a lot of good can come from it, both for him and the people around him. I even agree with the core idea of placing oneself at a structural advantage, and there being nothing wrong with that. While it's not one of my primary goals, it's absolutely something I value and also work toward, because you'd be stupid not to want the system to benefit you passively. The thing is, reality is hierarchical. Power does precede ethics. Methods are subordinate to results. Long-term thinking matters more than comfort. Social currency is a real and a powerful thing. And beauty is undeniably a perception multiplier that systemically advantages those who possess it. However, there is one major point where I strongly disagree with Clavicular, and that is his methodology.
So what are all the things that it took you to get here?
A lot of pharmaceutical intervention, I would say, is the main thing that I talk about. Like, TRT during puberty, so having like that super optimized developmental stage is really important, as well as HGH. I started that when I was 16 for a little bit more vertical growth. Well, I've done like a lot of things like fat dissolvers, like I've injected lipolysis agents into my face, was a big one. And bone smashing was another one that.
Yeah, this one I find it so funny.
So we were just with Todd Duffy the other day talking about bone smashing, and he was telling us like, yeah, absolutely. His face has masculinized quite a bit from just like the sheer amount of trauma and microfractures.
I think he places way too much emphasis on looks after a certain threshold. What I'm talking about here is the law of diminishing returns. It's this idea that as more energy is invested into something, the proportional benefit gained from each additional unit decreases.
So if you had to give me where you spend your time, like working on, would you say it's 30% effort on the physique, 70% on the face, or?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd say that's accurate.
If Clavicular is already an 8 out of 10 in physical attractiveness, the amount of effort required to move from an 8 to a 9 might simply just not be worth the cost. He's talked about jaw surgery to make his face even more masculine and attractive.
And same with the upper jaw. It's called a Lafort osteotomy. They cut along your anterior nasal spine and then advance your jaw forward. It's like they actually have to break your jaw.
Why? How many points do you think you're going to go up on the 1 through 10 scale after getting that surgery?
1.5.
1.5.
How did you come to 1.5? What do you rate yourself out of 10?
I
Like
don't.
Like but if you move up 1.5, is that like out of 10?
Yeah, I would say that that's generally how much people improve from Bimax, from what I've seen.
How much is that going to cost?
35,000.
Or what's the recovery like?
It's pretty brutal, I'd say, for the first 3 weeks. Then after that, you just have residual swelling that kind of subsides over like a 3 to 6 month period.
Has anyone tried to talk you out of this?
Yeah, pretty much everyone, like parents and stuff like that, just copers, normie.
Clav, why are you getting a double jaw surgery?
I am getting a double jaw surgery due to the fact that I know the amount of money that I'm investing will pay itself off to a huge degree, right? So it's $35,000 for a double jaw surgery and with full facial implants. And I decided upon this before I did social media, back when I was working as a server. And I knew that if I was better looking, that would pay itself off in terms of whatever I did with my career.
He's even considered leg lengthening surgery.
Why are you spending $100,000 on surgery to go from 6'2" to 6'6"?
That is more about just presence, right? I've always valued presence super, super highly, right? You walk into a room, people notice, right? You're standing in the middle of a club, you're an outlier, right? That to me, just because people will come up to me, they'll say, oh, well, 6'2", that's already very tall. But in terms of percentiles, it's only 91st percentile, right? 6'6", we get to 99th. I'm someone who wants to be the best, right? And I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get there. So that's why, I'm seriously considering that.
It makes me wonder what the actual return on investment is for these procedures if you weigh it against the cost in money, time, pain, recovery, and long-term risk. It's entirely possible that I'm wrong about this, but my intuition is that going from an 8 to a 9 in attractiveness just isn't going to produce enough benefits proportional to the costs, especially when that same energy could be allocated somewhere else. Yes, beauty is one of the top domains for gaining structural advantage, but alongside it, if not on the same level, are money, intelligence, social status, and achievement. I think Clavicular could gain a much greater structural advantage by reallocating effort. Instead of pushing attractiveness from an 8 to a 9, he could push money from like a 4 to a 7, intelligence from a 7 to a 8.5 or 9, social recognition from a 6 to an 8. To be clear, I'm not saying he's wrong to invest heavily in beauty. I don't believe it's going to be a net negative. I just think it's not very efficient. If the goal is to become the maximal mogger, there are better ways he can go about doing it.
Because I'm trying to optimize every single metric of my life. I'm not only interested in fitness, right?
Finance, intelligence, and status sit just below, if not directly alongside physical attractiveness, in terms of their ability to create lasting structural advantage. And I'm not sure how deeply he's considered that.
Yeah, but I mean, like this next election cycle, who's going to win? It's going to be Gavin Newsom against J.D. Vance because J.D. Vance is subhuman and Gavin Newsom mugs.
J.D. Vance is subhuman?
Yeah.
What makes you say that?
He's got a very short total facial width to height ratio. He's obese, very recessed side profile, whereas Newsom is like 6'3" Chad.
So JD's very tall. JD's got to be
well, still,
6'2",
I mean,
6'3".
Gavin Newsom obviously mogs him to death.
So you're a Newsom head. You prefer Newsom to the vice president.
I'm just telling you who's going to win.
So this clip is interesting because on the surface, it seems like Clavicular is making a strong claim that mogging is the primary predictor of political success and legitimacy. In other words, the candidate who mogs will win and is therefore preferable. I don't think Clav is entirely wrong here about aesthetics influencing voters. The halo effect is definitely real. People do prefer better looking leaders. A fat leader absolutely commands way less instinctive respect than one who is visibly in shape. Appearance does sway perception whether we like it or not. But in this clip, Clav actually makes two claims at once. First, he says that merely predicting what will happen, Newsom will beat Vance because Newsom mogs him.
Yeah, but I mean, like this next election cycle, who's going to win? It's going to be Gavin Newsom against J.D. Vance because J.D. Vance is subhuman and Gavin Newsom mugs.
And second, and more importantly, he admits that he personally prefers Newsom.
Do you prefer him though?
Honestly, it's hard to say, but Newsom being that much more of a mogger and like having a president who's like fat and especially that young.
You think I don't think he's fat.
I would say
he's a bigger guy for sure. He's
just like, it's just embarrassing. Like, how are you fat and you expect to like lead a country? You can't even be in shape, you know?
So let's say you got a vote. It's 2028.
I'm voting for Gavin Newsom.
You're voting for Gavin Newsom.
You can't be that subhuman.
So hold on. You got, all right, well, this actually is of a thread with the whole conversation because you look at these two candidates. You have Gavin Newsom, worst governor in the country. I think we would all agree. Destroyed his state, let its main city burn to the ground because of his incompetence, is a personal, complete derelict, liar, degenerate. But he is good looking. I'll grant you that he's good looking. Yep. And kind of looks like Patrick Bateman, American Psycho. Hey. And then you have this vice president to President Trump, the transformative right-wing president in our lifetimes, who, do you support Trump or no?
Yeah.
Okay. So you got this vice president handpicked by Trump, who is extremely intelligent, very right wing. I think he's a pretty good looking guy. I don't know. Maybe I guess you disagree. But he's all these things, checks all these boxes, would have all these great policies. And regardless, you're going to pick the pro mass migrant, pro-trans, pro-murder the babies, pro-burn the cities to the ground, pro-BLM Democrat because he's skinnier than the conservative vice president.
100 times over.
According to his own words,
JD Vance is subhuman and Gavin Newsom mugs.
Vance is subhuman. He's too fat. He's lacking self-control. He's just not attractive enough. And that's where this kind of becomes a problem for Clav. See, the thing is, up until this point, he's thought really rationally about hierarchies, incentives, power, uncomfortable truths. But here, it seems like he's saying something that actively works against his own self-interest and individualism, and even one of his critiques of the world.
Right, but I mean, like, at the end of the day, women are always looking for, like, the next best thing. They're extremely hypergamous in nature. And, maybe you're able to beat this, issue and find a good girl who's maybe not even on Instagram. We're talking about a societal issue.
Clav knows better than almost anyone that looks matter. He knows that the halo effect is an illusion. It's artificial, mechanical. It's a subconscious bias. He understands how it works, why it works, and how destructive it is. In theory, that should make him uniquely capable of using the halo effect without being ruled by it. He should be able to manipulate the illusion, not submit to it. Clav isn't naive. He's not sentimental or moralistic. And yet, when Michael presses him on who he would actually vote for, Clav hesitates.
You prefer Newsom to the vice president?
I'm just telling you who's going to win.
Do you prefer him, though?
Honestly...
And then he defaults to who looks better.
It's 2028.
I'm voting for Gavin Newsom.
You're voting for Gavin Newsom.
You can't be that subhuman.
Now, I don't think this is because Clav is like blind to bias. I think there are only two real possibilities here. Either he's intentionally leaning into an edgy, provocative posture for shock value, or he's accepting a deeper, more disturbing idea that since society is ruled by appearance, we might as well submit to it universally, even in domains where it actively harms our own interests. And that's what I find kind of disappointing. Clav doesn't strike me as someone who became a looksmaxer in order to conform to the system. I thought he was doing it to advantage himself within it.
Once again, there's no end goal to looksmaxing.
What's
right?
the point? Like, what's the objective?
Well, the objective is to get better looking because that's going to allow for more opportunities, allow for better overall treatment. Just that subconscious bias in people that you're leveraging by, becoming better and better looking.
And yet here he's doing the opposite. He's conforming to a system he understands better than almost anyone else.
Because you look at these two candidates. You have Gavin Newsom, worst governor in the country. I think we would all agree. Destroyed his state, let its main city burn to the ground because of his incompetence, is a personal, complete derelict, liar, degenerate. But he is good looking. I'll grant you that he's good looking. Yep. And kind of looks like Patrick Bateman, American Psycho.
Hey.
And then
he's effectively saying that he'd rather stand behind a handsome leader who would destroy the country than an ugly one who would improve it. And what makes this even more striking is that he openly admits he agrees more with Vance on policy.
Who do you support Trump or no?
Yeah.
Okay. So you got this vice president handpicked by Trump who is extremely intelligent, very right wing.
In other words, he's choosing perceived respect over material outcomes, even when it affects his own well-being. Now, if we go deeper into the later part of this exchange, things start to make more sense.
Well, we could talk about JD Vance. Like, I think JD Vance, would he be a better candidate and probably closer to me in terms of policy than Gavin Newsom? Yes, but he's just not going to be good enough to be deserving.
It seems to me that for much of this interview, and many before it, Clav has been operating in a strategic, performative, Chad-like mode. He uses hyperbolic language, intentional provocation, and exaggeration of social taboos.
Is your little brother fag or what?
I don't think any of this is fake. I think it's just a deliberate way to dominate the conversation. He's trying to force reactions, he's trying to expose uncomfortable truths, and he wants people to be shocked by it. And frankly, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But here, Michael pushes him out of that posture.
I don't really think that right-wingers should just give support to these jesters who continue to underdeliver on their promises. Just let the Democrats win. That's kind of what I'm talking about in terms of just like why I don't support Vance as a voter. But
so you're saying no, they shouldn't vote for any Republican? The right wingers should not
until
vote for the Republicans.
Not until the right actually wants to do the things that they're promising.
What comes out doesn't sound like I genuinely want Newsom to win because he mogs. It sounds like something else entirely. It's like a resentment toward the right wing for repeated failure, broken promises, and underperformance. And this makes more sense than his answer from before.
J.D. Vance is subhuman and Gavin Newsom mogs.
Accelerationism, whether one agrees with it or not, is at least internally consistent with Clav's individualism and cynicism towards, like, the government and institutions. It explains why he'd refuse to support candidates he believes won't deliver real change. It also explains the frustration underlying his earlier provocations. And I'll say this plainly, I would be far more disappointed if Clav truly wanted Newsom to win because he looks better than if he simply believes the right has failed and deserves to lose. The latter is a genuine political stance, and the former would represent surrender to the very illusion Clav claims to have mastered.
What's the surgery you're getting?
A double jaw surgery.
What is that?
It's an osteotomy of the upper maxilla and lower mandible.
Just dumb it down for me. I don't know what any of that.
So
just
they basically make a cut.
Well, her mid face is way too long. Obviously, she's got the jowls coming in, horrible nasolabial folds. Horrible total facial width to height ratio. Just really bad age indicators, but obviously at 30, that's not something really that's going to surprise me. Her upper maxilla is super recessed, horrible infraorbitals. That's why your under eyes are coming in like hell. Really recessed chin. All the facial convexities are wrong. Her radix is recessed. Honestly, there's not a single good thing about her face, so I'm just going to use that as a universal thing, or else
Is that the shocking factor? That's crazy.
That's not really me being shocking, but we could break it down if you want.
Yeah,
Please do.
Yeah.
So her alar base, the width of her nose is incredibly large. Her nasal bridge is incredibly wide. Obviously you've got bimaxillary protrusion. So your bite is all off. Just everything is wrong.
That's fine.
So just I would rate you the lowest, definitely on the panel.
Are you not a sir?
I went on a trip with some buddies, and you're not really too sure all the time what's in like some of like maybe the Miami cocaine. So we just opted to do meth, which we knew was going to be more pure. So bone smashing's legit,
It sounds. So you don't take a hammer and go like this?
I used to do it with a hammer, but my mom used to always take away my hammers because they do us.
Yeah. What about the mental aspect of it though?
Of the gym?
Yeah.
I hate the gym, quite honestly. Yeah.
I saw a clip of you putting like, I don't know, on your shoulders.
Shoulder pads?
Bro, that was, I'm not gonna lie, that was the gayest thing I've ever saw though.
That's gay?
That's so
How
gay.
is that gay?
Because it's like,
But it gets you a result.
Never before, though, have I sat down with a looksmaxed meth head live stream cell. And I have that distinct privilege today with my new friend, Clavicular.
How's it going?
Are we gonna do a black top? What's up?
Oh, actually, look, it's Clav, genius. There's no act.
What's up, Cracker?
Clav, I'm telling you.
Yo, Cracker. Let me holler at you for a sec. Is that? Is your little brother fag or what?
What's the deal, Shreddy?
Bro, what the fuck?
I like your room. Your room look cool.
What the fuck language are you even speaking, bitch? Yo, sister. Yo, shut the fuck up and let me holler at you, sister. I don't speak that fucking language, alright? Can you communicate in English without this bullshit accent? I know that's not the way you actually talk, right? How many dudes have f***ed you this week?
For a minute, do.
Wait, what did you just
So
say?
they came in my crib.
What did you just say?
Huh?
Did you just say nigga?
I definitely said neighborhood. On 73rd, I said neighborhood.
Are you sure I'm not gonna have to
Anyway.
check? You can't be saying shit like that. I might have to check you for that. They go. I said the N-word in a rap song? Because what are you doing? You're giving all the on Twitter some sort, it's like an admission of guilt. Like, hey, liberals of Twitter, I did something wrong by saying a word while I'm singing. It's like, give me a break. Did your Cybertruck get fixed? No, that same didn't have insurance that hit me, so I reported him to ICE. Jester, I saw in my mentions. I obviously had to say the N-word because of how ridiculous that was. And also, guys, just lol at the N-word, okay? The method is unpatched. Nobody gives a shit what you say anymore.
My jaw from the front profile is pretty good. So I would say that. and least attractive features, I would say that my nose and yeah, as well as maybe like the total height of my skull could be a little better.
How is that not body dysmorphia?